There's just something about a single action revolver that brings out the little boy in me, and one of my favorite pastimes when I was a kid was just to take a little 22 pistol out in the woods and go plinking. Well, not too long ago we took a look at a low budget 22 caliber, under 200 bucks, the Ruger Wrangler, and it's a pretty nice little pistol for the money. So what we're going to do in today's video, we're going to take a look at another even slightly lower budget 22 caliber single action pistol, the Heritage Rough Rider. We're going to compare this Ruger Wrangler to this Heritage Rough Rider, take them to the range, see how they shoot. We'll talk about the similarities and the differences between these two, and then I'll tell you which one's my favorite, and you can see if you agree. Anyway, that's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for trustworthy information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. So I wish I had a cowboy hat on because, well, as I said, we're going to take a look at these two, compare these two single action 22 caliber pistols. These are both come in under 200 bucks. Street price. We got the Ruger Wrangler and the Heritage Rough Rider. And by the way, I bought both of these from Big Daddy Unlimited. You've heard me say it over and over and over. They're one of my favorite places to buy stuff, and because the prices are so good, they had the best price on these I could find anywhere as well. So we're going to take a look at these. So I've actually already did a kind of a quick review of this one earlier separately, but I had some comments suggesting that I check out this Heritage Rough Rider, so I bought one of these to check out. So we're going to compare them. We're going to talk about the differences and the similarities between them. I actually took them both to the range to put a few rounds down range. I know, man, every time you go to the range now, I'm watching dollars go out the end of these barrels. Even 22 is crazy. But I got to say, there are a couple of significant differences in the way these things operate, and actually I have some differences in the actual performance too. So maybe that will surprise you. I don't know, it kind of surprised me, but in the end of this video, I'll tell you which one I like the best, and then you can decide based upon what you've seen. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. So without any more rambling, that's probably enough rambling. Let's get down. I'll give you some close-ups of these things. We'll talk about quickly the details and the pros and cons and differences of each one, and then we'll get to doing some of that shooting stuff. Okay, so here are both of these pistols. You can see they look very similar. They both are 22 long rifle. They both have approximately the same barrel length. The Ruger has a 4.62 inch barrel, and the Heritage has a 4.75 inch barrel, so really close. The Heritage is also available with several different barrel lengths. It's available with a 3.5 inch barrel, a 6.5 inch barrel, a 9 inch barrel, and a whopping 16 inch barrel. The Ruger Wrangler is just available in this one configuration. Both of these are 6-round cylinders in here. The Ruger is only available with 6-round. The Heritage is actually available as a 9-round with a 9-round cylinder as well. Now, the cylinders are not interchangeable. If you buy a 6-round model, then you have to stick with a 6-round cylinder. However, another thing they really have that sets the Heritage different from the Ruger is the Heritage is also available in a 22 Magnum. And I checked with Heritage, and as long as the pistol is of recent manufacture, and I'll put the dates in the description below, you can actually buy even if you don't buy the 22 Magnum version, you can buy a cylinder and swap it out and shoot 22 Magnum in here. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's see, the overall length of these both is about 10 and 0.25 inches, something like that. The weight, both of them, the Ruger's 30 ounces, the Heritage is 30.6 ounces. So they're both very similar in weight and size, as you can see, everything else. The Ruger has these plastic kind of grips. It's available in several different Cerakoted finishes. So the Ruger's Cerakoted, and the Heritage is not. I guess this is just straight up blued. The Ruger is made of, the frame is made of aluminum alloy. The barrel, of course, is steel, and the cylinder steel. The Heritage is made of something called Zamac 75, which is some kind of zinc alloy. Of course, the barrel and cylinder are steel as well. And then the Heritage has what they're calling, I think these are Coco Bolo, but they're hardwood grips. So there's that. So that's kind of the, you can see they look very similar. The Heritage has got a little bit of a fluted barrel, fluted cylinder here, and the Ruger's smooth. But other than that, they both work exactly like a single action revolver. Now let me just show you this. The grips on the Heritage are just a little bit wider. Can you see that? Can you see they're just a little fatter? Look at them from that angle. A little bit more hand filling. And I'll have to say, in my opinion, the fit and finish on the Ruger is maybe just a little bit better, but not so much that it really, I can tell a huge difference. The action itself, the Ruger's very positive, obviously, and so is the Heritage. The Heritage is actually a little smoother. The Ruger's a little stiffer. It's definitely got a stronger spring. It takes it more to pull it back. And then the Ruger also has the Ruger transfer bar, so it's safe to carry with a round under the hammer, because that hammer block stops the hammer from contacting the firing pin unless you got the trigger pulled. Just give you a close up of that transfer bar. Can you see that? So that bar right there, that little bar that rises up, you see it, when you pull the trigger, it goes up. It actually goes between the hammer and the firing pin, so the hammer hits the block and the block hits the firing pin, and it moves the firing pin. But when that trigger is not pulled, you see it drops down. Pull the trigger, it goes up. Let the trigger, it drops down. So it prevents the hammer from striking the firing pin. The Heritage, on the other hand, has an actual physical external safety. The way that works is the safety pops this little bar up here, and when it's got the red dot, that means the bar's out of the way. It allows this flat hammer to go all the way into contact with the firing pin right there. But when the safety's up, it flops a little block in the way, and it prevents the firing pin from the hammer from actually falling all the way and hitting the firing pin. I can tell you that a couple times at the range, I forgot to drop the safety, and I pulled the trigger and nothing happened. I thought I had a dud round at first. So anyway, that is one major difference, is the fact this has that safety. So, and that may or may not be a good thing to you. I will say that another major difference is in the loading. The Ruger, you just open the loading gate, you don't have to do anything, and it spins 100% freely. There's no stops, no catches, no anything. It'll spin either way. To me, that was a little bit of a negative, because you have to manually make sure you eyeball that cylinder and put it in the right place before you can load it and or unload it with this rod. You just unload these things like normal. You line up the cylinder with your ejection rod, you push it through, and it ejects the old case out. But if you don't have it lined up right, it's just going to hit. The Heritage, on the other hand, the way you load and unload it is you bring it back to the first, actually the little second notch, and then when you turn the cylinder, it has a notch, a detent, and it stays right where you put it. So that makes it really easy. You just turn it, and you don't have to line it up, hold it in place or anything. It just goes right where you need it to go when you need it to go there. Same thing for loading. So I like that myself. Also, let's go ahead and do a little dry fire here. So the trigger on the Ruger is really good. It's a nice smooth trigger, but the cocking is a little harder. On the not that it's too hard. The Heritage cocks really easy. It's got more of a traditional 4-notch cock, which means the first notch is it's like the Colt safety notch. You really don't want to use that for safety. Obviously, you want to use the safety. The second notch is the loading notch. The third notch is really not really for much of anything, and then finally the fourth notch is cocked. So if you want to load the Heritage, bring it to the second notch, open your loading gate, and then you just, again, you're good to go there. So cock all the way. It cocks really, really easy. And the trigger is also really, really, really smooth on the Heritage. It doesn't really have any creep at all. You just move it and it goes. The Ruger, same, no creep. So there's that. You want to take them apart. They both come apart the same way. So here's the Ruger, and just to show you how to remove the cylinder, obviously you've got the push button here with a spring. It just catches the rod, and you can see there's a spring on the Ruger. As you can barely see the spring in there, so it's not a lot of exposed spring, but you just push that in, pull your rod out, like so, open your loading gate like so, and you can remove the cylinder for cleaning, or just if you have an extra cylinder. You know, in the cowboy movies, they used to carry extra cylinders. I know Josie Wales did anyway. So, and then to put it back in, you just reverse the process. You got to push that little button there, get it lined up. There you go. And there you go. Make sure it's right. So, if you don't know who Josie Wales is, shame on you. So, the Heritage, same situation, but if you look at the little plunger release on the Heritage, you can see the spring it doesn't look as nice. Okay, the spring is exposed a little bit. So, but same process. Pull that out, open the loading gate, and remove the cylinder, and then put it back in. Same process. Got to get it lined up, and that's always tricky for me. Usually, like, I'll finally be able to get it lined up when I least expect it. There we go. Okay. Working. Okay. That is everything that I can see is different about the two. Let's get to the range. Let me show you a couple things, and we'll get to it. So first of all, the some rounds I shot with the Ruger on some sandbags. I just want to make sure I took myself out of the equation as much as possible. You can see the group from the Ruger just wasn't very nice. It didn't turn out to be quite that great a group. On the other hand, the group from the Heritage, as you can see, my first group with the sandbag, was a pretty decent group. Now it was shooting left, but the group itself was pretty tight. This was at about 15-16 yards. So for nothing but a blade sight with a groove on top, I think that was a pretty good group. And then I did it one more time. I did again with the Ruger, and it got a little better, but still not that great a group. And then with the Heritage, the group again was a lot better in my opinion. And I will say that I don't know if you can see this, but it looks to me like the front sight on this Heritage is just a little bit bent to the right. And I think if I bend it over just slightly to the left, that would probably move my group a little bit to the right, and I should be good. Speaking of sights, if you can see these, you can see that the sight on the Ruger, the groove is a little sharper. It just seems a little more defined, and the groove on the Heritage is a little smoother, maybe not quite as defined. Either way, it seemed like the Heritage was shooting better groups than the Ruger. What do you think? Okay, well, that was some shooting footage. So let's see if I can wrap this thing up. So as I said, I'm gonna tell you which one's my favorite in just a minute. So do a quick recap of the pistols and what we talked about. So as you can see, they're both very similar looking pistols. They both have the same, pretty much the same length barrel. You know, the shroud, the ejection rod shroud is a little shorter on this one than on here. I think the fit and finish is a little better on the Ruger, to be honest with you. It just looks a little nicer. Maybe that's the Cerakote. Cerakote really does make it look nice. There's nothing wrong with the Heritage. It looks fine to me as well. It's just not quite as fancy looking, I guess. However, I'll say this. Of the two, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you I prefer the Heritage for a couple of reasons. First of all, think about this. Okay, the list on this one is $249. The list on the Ruger is $249 for the Cerakote one. I paid $209.19, including shipping from Big Daddy Unlimited for this. That's tax, tag, and title. The list on the Heritage is $147. So it lists for $100 less. I paid $120.99 plus shipping, so I paid $145.94 for this one on Big Daddy Unlimited. A 22 Magnum cylinder for this one is $30 plus shipping. So, but $30 from Heritage's website. So for about the same prices I paid for this one, I can have this one with a 22 Magnum cylinder. Reason number two I like this one is because I like the fact that when you open this loading gate, you get it to the load position, you turn the cylinder, it indexes where you want it, and it's got a little D10 in it. You just turn it, indexes. Turn it, it indexes, right? That makes loading and unloading a lot easier, because the difference is the Ruger, you do that, maybe you got it right, maybe you don't. You know, you have to be looking at it. You don't have to be looking at the Heritage. You have to be looking at it. So if you're in the middle of a gunfight at high noon at the OK Corral and you're having to reload, you want to keep your eyes on the enemy, not on your cylinder. It's just easier, okay? I don't plan on being the OK Corral, but you get my point. That's reason number two. Reason number three is because, straight up, for me, this one shot a lot smaller groups than this one. This one was shooting a group, I don't know, maybe like this, 50-cent piece, okay? Maybe a silver dollar. This one was shooting a group like maybe a dollar bill or larger. And I had them both on the sandbag, both of them really focused, trying to be as secure and as you know, absolutely still as possible. And certainly there's a human factor in there, but at the end of the day, 2 different groups with this one were both bigger than 2 different groups with this one. So same ammo. It was CCI Stingers, by the way. So there's that. So your mileage may vary, but for me, in spite of the fact that I think the Ruger looks a little better, the Heritage, in my opinion, is the best value for me. So again, your mileage may vary. I really kind of almost wanted the Ruger to do well, because I like Ruger revolvers. And, you know, my daddy had a Ruger single 6 that I always liked that pistol when I was a kid, and I really wanted this one to perform really well, and it did okay. It goes bang, but man, this one is just, for me, is more accurate, and all the other things. The one negative I'll say is I'm not a big fan of that safety, okay? And because of the way this thing works, they recommend, like old school, carrying this one with a empty chamber in the cylinder under the hammer. Ruger doesn't have that problem with the transfer bar, but if you're going to carry this in the woods for snakes or whatever, then they recommend, if you're going to carry it, making sure there's no round under the hammer. And that makes sense. Even with the safety, it just makes sense. But that safety absolutely blocks that hammer. So again, I would follow their safety precautions. So anyway, that's it. I hope this has been helpful. One more time, I bought both of these at Big Daddy Unlimited. A great place, in my opinion, to shop for things that go bang, and things with blades and things, all sorts of cool gear. If you go to survivalonpurpose.com/BDU, which will take you to a page on my website, and you'll have to click one more little click to get you there, because YouTube doesn't allow me to directly link to places that sell things like this. But you get your first month's membership for just 99 cents. Check it out and see if it makes sense for you. It definitely makes sense for me. I've saved a lot of money there. So if you buy stuff, it'll make sense. If you don't buy stuff, it probably won't make sense. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. If you had questions about these 2 pistols, and I really appreciate you watching Survival on Purpose. My name is Brian. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.